Oh, Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm back home for a little bit.
Mm.
And
Hare
then
Krishna,
I'm going
Prabhu.
to Mississippi next.
Nice. Hare Krishna, Madhuvana.
Hello, Hare Krishna. Hello, everyone.
Haribo.
Haribo. Right.
I was watching the recording of our last book club to remember exactly where we stopped, and I saw so many beautiful sharings of you all, really. All beautiful thoughts, and was really, really inspiring. I was even thinking about to share this on Instagram. So maybe more people can feel inspired to join the group. What do you all think about it?
I'm sorry, I missed part of that. I know you were.
No problem. I was saying that I watched the recording of our last book club to remember exactly where we stopped and what we discussed. And I stay so inspired with so many beautiful sharings, so many beautiful thoughts that you all share on the last meetings. And I was thinking about do some shorts, do some short videos to share on Instagram to attract more people to join the book club. And I would like to know your opinion.
No, that's what you're asking. I
What is it?
don't do marketing, so
I think it's a great idea. Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
think it's
the
a great
more
idea.
exposure you have, the better.
Yeah, because it's different from a video that is recorded or something like some people are very shy in front of cameras, right?
Mhm.
But it's so natural. There's so many beautiful things that I was wondering about share, asking individually if you're okay with this. Hello, Christiana, welcome.
Hey, thank
Welcome.
you. Thank you. Good to be here.
Thanks for joining us.
So we are here discussing about the last meetings that we have. Is your first one? Welcome. We are glad that you're here. We are currently reading the Bhagavad-gita. Oops, one focus. Right. The comprehensive guide. Oh, great. You have that one already. Awesome.
It's different though. This is the different one, right?
Yeah, but it's the one that inspired this one. So
Hmm.
Yeah.
it's amazing that you have it. Yeah,
Well,
Madhuvana
thanks to
has
Chris.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks to Chris. Because I have this, but it's on the way. I have like nothing. I'm new here. My place is empty. My stuff is still on the way, and my books haven't gotten here yet. So I was a
Oh.
loner for like,
Yes, yes. We met on Saturday at the
yeah,
barber shop. Yes. Yeah,
yeah.
and he told me the how's it looking? I hope it's holding up. Looks
Oh
looks
man,
great.
great.
Great. Great. Yeah. And Cristiano said that the Bhagavad Gita was on his way. And I said, "Oh, which one do you have?" And I showed him Srila Prabhupada's as it is, and he said, "Yeah, that's the one coming." So I had that one there and gave it up,
Yeah,
gave it to him.
great.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
you are so welcome.
This is great. Yeah. Have you ever read the Bhagavad Gita? So, or
No, it's just something that no, it just so happened that it came this book. It's a long story, but it just kind of fell into my hands in a way, and I was like drawn to it. Grew up in a really like a fundamentalist Christian cult, and that was like something that we were supposed to stay away from. And since I've kind of gotten really gotten away from all of that, I'm really open and kind of like just just trusting my instincts and like energetically without the fear around and being like that feel I feel drawn to this. So I'm going to trust that. And yeah, so I just kind of was just going through it, like just different things, not like reading it thoroughly or anything. I just was kind of looking into it and just like stopping where things led me. And I'm like, this is really cool. But then we're moving and And so I was like, oh, bummer, I should have taken that with me because I would have liked to have carried it. And it was just something that it felt really interesting that I met Chris and all of this stuff happened because I'm like really open to what you're just to listen to what since I don't know much, I'll just be listening to you all, you know. So appreciate being here. Thanks.
That's great. Yeah, we share ice cream with the this version that we are currently reading, and we read some parts. We don't read it at all like all paragraphs, but I risk myself here to say that the best part are the discussions because we're here sharing experience, sharing what we know, and more than this, sharing our doubts or questions because no one here is going from the point that we know everything. So we are here just studying and sharing our impressions together. So welcome again. Um, so let's recap what we saw on the last meeting until here. Someone would like to share um, something that we saw, any highlight?
Well, I wasn't at the last one. Are we not? We're doing this one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure.
I was at the last one, and my memory is drawing a blank of anything we recapped. So I'm sorry, I'll leave myself out of this.
I think it was the one we were talking about. We were talking about death, right? And how we deal with the relationship with losing someone, and how we can help someone who is going through a suffering without being invasive, but sometimes having different values or different beliefs. I remember something like this.
Yeah, exactly. We spoke a lot about grief and how we deal with this challenge through the
Mm.
perspective of bhakti and what we have in our baggage before Krishna consciousness, what bhakti adds to our point of views, if chance or not, this kind of stuff. Yeah. I will share the Kindle screen here if you want.
Yeah, we're
Here it is. There is some parts that we highlight, Cristiano. So we generally read the highlight parts, but if you wants to continue to read other parts, it's fine also. Someone would like to start read? No, I can read it so. So we stop on the verse here, 32. We are reading the verse of the second chapter because we don't have like one meeting for each chapter. We go advancing in our own pace to make it everything much more on the flow. Doesn't need to be so rigid, so strict. Now, if you will not fight this righteous battle, then, giving up your dharma and reputation, you will incur sin. People will proclaim your perpetual infamy, and for the highly esteemed, infamy is worse than death. Great chariots will think you fled the fight in fear. You will be shamed before those who gave you high regard. Your enemies will ridicule your power, speaking many unutterable things. What pain is worse than this? So, to give a context, Bhagavad-gita is the dialogue between God, that is represented by Krishna, and Arjuna, there is a warrior. And Arjuna is in the role of us, but he's not exactly like us. right? So this dialogue happened more than 5,000 years ago in India, in a place called Kurukshetra. If you want to search it on maps after, or it's very interesting because you see the evidences. It's very interesting to do this research on Google Maps. Or if you want to go there someday, there is people here that have been there. And before fight this battle, this warrior, Arjuna, was in doubt because one side of the battlefield there was family and friends, and at the other side also family and friends. So it's very difficult when we have to do a decision that involves those that we love, those that we like and care. And this is the situation that Arjuna was. So Krishna was there and appeared to give him many advice and give us many advice at all. And we can learn a lot with this dialogue. This dialogue changed the lives of many people all around the world. And we all here have the lives changed by this dialogue also, right? So here we have the doubt of Arjuna. And Krishna is asking here, what is worse than this? What is worse than your enemy saying many unutterable, things? So I'd like to ask you all, based on this that we've read here, how do you deal with the so-called enemies? Because there is people that we have difficulty. There is people that maybe really doesn't like us. How do you deal with this in a practical way in your life?
Well, that's an interesting one. Because in this context, though, with Arjuna, I mean, his problem is he's not just an ordinary warrior. He's like the best of the warriors. So for him to back away from the battlefield, even there it says that infamy is worse than death. And so for him as a warrior, if he was to back away from the battlefield, yeah, he would be trash talked so bad that it would just be horrible. I mean, beyond belief. And, because everybody's looking up to him. I mean, he's the leader of the army, this massive army. And so, yeah, so for him to back away because he's a warrior, it's really not an option for him, but he's playing the part. As far as most of our enemies, I mean, you only have an enemy. You can only have an enemy if there's some conflict between you and that person, right? And in a fight of any kind takes two people. So when you get further along in spiritual life, it's hard to find an enemy. I mean, in a sense, because even the worst of people, for me, the worst of people is someone that would attack the devotees. And at that point, I'll pull no punches. That's like the worst. But even that's very rare because the devotees are so magnanimous and so loving. To see somebody that wants to do harm to any of the devotees is pretty rare. And in the few cases I've seen, it's just based upon ignorance. And once they understand what's going on, even they'll give that up. But, it says that the sage sees everybody equal, right? And if you're having this conflict with this person, you have to ask yourself, why am I having this conflict? What have I contributed to this? And so everything's a teaching moment. Our worst day is the best teaching moment. Because, right? Because our worst day, the problem is when it's our worst day, it's because we have the problem, right? So that means it's the greatest of teaching moments because now we need to figure out what our problem is and fix it. And yeah, anyway. So yeah, just be a kind soul and you won't have enemies. It's really simple. I don't know that I have any.
Thank you for sharing. Enemy is a really tough word, right? And
Yes.
many times people believe in this thing like, oh, it's my enemy. But everyone is so busy in their own lives that it's really important to ask yourself, why do you think that someone will waste so much energy with you specifically, right? Because many times we have a wrong impression about something, the way that someone looked, the way that someone said, but we are not here saying that problems doesn't exist and people doesn't create problems unlike in others or fighting discussing with others, right? This happen also, but the word enemy is a heavy word, right?
It's usually about control. Even in this case, the only reason that they're the enemy is because they would not allow the crews to rule. They tried to stop religion. So it was the fact that they were trying to control everything and not give to the crews what was due them is the only reason they became the enemy.
Yes, and this perception of friends or enemies, this dualities comes from our minds, right?
Mhm.
Comes from our perception of our senses. And this is what Krishna will instruct Arjuna on the
I,
next verses.
I can appreciate that duality is very true. Like our enemy, quote unquote, is up to us as well, right? Someone might really hate us and want to, in a battle, kill us or bring it down to our level, like want to do us harm or talk bad about us. But that's their perception of ourselves, and we can create we can choose whether they're our enemy or not. And a lot of the time, which is something I get caught up in a lot, is it's protecting our ego, protecting my ego. So then I'll be like, you know, I've in the past been like, okay, this person is talking bad about me, whatever, they're my enemy. We're butting heads, and I want to protect my ego, so I'm gonna butt heads with them and argue or whatever. And it's like Mangalarti said, it's about control, and it's about control on our so-called enemies, and it's control of ourselves, it's controlling our protecting our fragile ego.
Yes, and I think that also, in addition to what you said, it's important to ask ourselves, what's my responsibility in this situation? Because many times we put a lot of energy to create a bad situation and we forget about it. Or because we tend to not bring the responsibility for ourselves that we have in many situations, right? Not saying that everything is our fault, but maybe you have a disagreement with someone or someone doesn't want to go out with you anymore. Maybe there is a reason why. Maybe you have contributed to this situation. Uh, it Each case is a different case, but in psychology, it's very common to ask for the patient, okay, what's your responsibility in this issue that you're bringing to the session today? And these uncomfortable feelings can give you a north, can give you a new perspective about situations and also bring new ways to deal with. So here, Krishna is showing Arjuna that, okay, do what you need to do because people will talk about you anyways. Why are you so concerned with the opinion of others? And this is very powerful because many times in life we let aside some things that we really want to do, thinking about what my neighbor will think, what that person will believe or not. And this is shouldn't be like this, right? We should care for the opinion of others, but not in a way that these opinions manage our lives or let us um, make us a barrier between us and our dreams, things like this. What do you all think about it?
But one thing, for example, when they were starting this conversation and Arjuna was worried about what people would think about him, it was because what he was about to do, he was thinking that was something against his principles and his values. He was going to kill friend and family. And that was something so horrible that he was worried about what people would think about him. But he was not worried about what people think about him when they lost everything. They were kings, they were the most powerful, rich, and handsome, and everything. And they were not worried about what people will think about me because I'm losing everything for my cousin and I'm going 13 years to live in the jungle. They were not worried about this because they knew that they were doing the right thing. They were not doing anything against their values. So the things that sometimes we are worried about what people think about us because we're not sure about what we are doing, if we are doing the correct thing. Because honestly, when I'm doing something and I don't care what you think, I'm sure about what I'm doing because I know I'm doing the right thing. But if I'm not so sure, that's when we need some shelter and some guide to help us to understand what is the better position we have to act.
You do have a point. Yeah, when you're not sure about what you're doing, we are not sure. And then this may us feel fragile because we are feeling fragile at real, right?
That resonated for me a lot. That what is it Madhavana? Is that how you say your name? What you said, yeah, and what you're repeating. Because if you don't have solid footing in what you're doing, you can fall. You're just not, you can't stand and or have a stance. And then also, you all have such pretty names. Mangala. What you said too about when you said, "Oh, I don't think I have any enemies," and it was like, wow, that's I mean, that just sounds like amazing. But because it is a lot of times it's projection, right? It's what people do. Because like I'm relating to this. I mentioned to Chris some of my background. We were just it was a really to me it was a really great. It was a meaningful conversation. Probably the most I've had with a barber ever, but it was really in depth. It was really good. But I mentioned some things like so I have currently I can be vulnerable to just to share that I have like family members that I was very close to who think very negatively of me and have spread to family members that I am hurting and torturing my mother, who is like the matriarch in the family because I transitioned from female to male. And I did something for myself. I've always known I was two-spirited, and it was really difficult to navigate. And but I did. I navigated it as hard as I could, and was extremely feminine presenting, and never wore pants. I wore heels everywhere I went. My hair was always done, and nails, and everything was just done all the time. for my mother basically. But so when I let them know, it caused a huge rupture. So my family, there, I feel that I have like enemies. I had to get off social media just because of the stuff that they were saying, because of their fear around what transgender people are. And they have their ideas about me that aren't true. It's like I knew that, anyway, it's just not true. But I didn't, to go back to like what not having solid footing with my Huvana was saying, like when you can't stand, that's kind of like where I've been for years, like feeling like, could I just stayed really femme presenting and been this Christian woman and married the minister they had in mind for me? Could I have done that? Like, oh, and that was a lie. And they're saying that I've torn my mom to pieces. My mother is so brokenhearted, and I put this huge wedge. I mean, it hurt, and I'm like, did I do that? I didn't mean to do that. I wanted to be navigate my life in an authentic way, and I'm hated for that. Like I know that, and I know that they consider me an enemy of my family. And so I've been casted out, for many years from my both sides, father and mother side, lots of cousins, lots of weddings. I can't go to funerals, anything like that. So it's like not being welcome. What do you do? It's just kind of like now it's just about like letting them, like just like let them and love them anyway, because I know they're, which a lot of my friends and understand, they're like, no, those, I hate those people. Like, I don't want to feel that. I don't feel that way. I know that I was brainwashed, I felt, in that religion for so long, and I was afraid of people that were in the LGBT community. I was afraid because I thought they were satanic. So it's like when you have those fears about people, and people do that also about my race or my background, it's like I can walk in someplace and like security guards will follow me for no reason. Like this, when they have these views, when they're looking at you from the outside and they label you or look at your life and say, this is what you're doing. And then you have these enemies that you're navigating the world and not hurting people, trying not to. And there's these people that just don't, they have their own issues with whatever their messages that I feel they're not correct. But it's ideology that causes, just pulls people apart. So when I first saw that paragraph about this person that cared so much about other people think, I was like, oh, how sad that this person is like, so thinks that's worse than death. But then when Mangala, when you explained that, it was like he's this warrior, and it's like, and it's like finding out more, finding out like always remembering that I know I don't know. Because if I think I know, then I'm not going to learn and I'm not going to understand the mystery. So understanding like his perspective that he's this warrior and he's got, like what's going to happen to the rest of the people that he's leading. And then to know when then I got more information from Madhuvana that said also people thought he was doing this, he's hurting his family or which families, and you're talking about it too. How do you say her name? Per
You can say Prema, it's fine. If it
Prema?
makes it easier, it's Premamrita, but can say Prema.
Okay. Yeah, just that to know that it's like, what a dilemma to be in between these situations. And so it's much more complex than the first part of this paragraph, because initially I thought, how sad this guy thinks it's worse than death to have people talk negatively about it. It feels very kindergarten, or like elementary, like he's saying bad things about me. I don't, I'm saying, but there's much more to it. And so anyway, I appreciate hearing all of this.
Thank you for sharing. I'm sorry that you face everything that you just share with us. And this makes me think, as you said, like when one looks to the life of another person, you can see only a tiny part. You have no idea of what this person is facing, is struggling. What are the dreams of this person? What makes this person happy or sad? What are the challenges? We never know, right? We never know. And here, on the contest of the Gita, Arjuna was facing much more than the decision of fight a battle or not, or make some people sad, the projection of others. Everything comes in this moment. But the reason for this battle was a battle to reestablish the Dharma, to make people, to help people live in a peaceful way. Otherwise, everything will turn into a chaos. And that's why Arjuna had to fight this battle. So we see that everything goes back to the mind, right? All these feelings, all the decisions needs to come from the mind and other emotions.
And everyone's false perceptions about other people, like you said, without understanding who they are, what their desires are, what their dreams are. Yeah, it's all people have false perceptions of. You just look at someone and people instantly judge someone just by looking at them without even opening your mouth to say hello or talk, have a conversation. You are instantly judged. People instantly judge others. It's terrible. We have this whole battle going on in our mind all the time. Yeah,
Exactly.
lots of false perceptions.
Exactly. For example, we are talking about the Bhagavad-gita, and in the Gita, we had actually a real war, people fighting against people and killing each other. But we can use the analogy of our life. For example, you have been through some difficult moment. I have been like everyone has to deal with difficult wars inside ourselves or in relation with other people, and we that's why Prema was saying that we are Arjuna in some way, because all of us, in many points of our lives, we are dealing with some kind of war, and we have to understand what's our purpose and why we have to fight this, because you can just try to uh, avoid doing what you want because of the judgment of someone, or because you like someone so much that people are saying that you are torturing someone because you are doing something that you feel that's right for you. So it's difficult to make a choice of I'm going to do that because I think this is the right thing to do, even if some people think this and this and this about me. So you can keep doing it and avoiding it for a long time, but somehow in one moment you have to do it because this is your purpose. That's what happened with the Pandavas as well. If you Bhagavad Gita is a part of Mahabharata, and the Mahabharata is the whole story, and the Bhagavad Gita is just one part of this story. So to get to the point of the war that no one could avoid anymore, many things happen. Many they try to avoid the war. It's unbelievable how many times they try to avoid the war, but they had to fulfill this purpose. That's why, because this is Krishna desire. Sometimes we just think that we are avoiding something, but if Krishna wants something from us, we won't be able to avoid it for our whole life, because we have to live this, and that's what happened. They tried to avoid the war, but in one point they were there, and there is anything else they could do because they had to fulfill Krishna's desire. And they had to learn with this, because it's not just because Krishna wants to do it, hey, he wants to have fun. No, he wants to teach us many things. So sometimes you have to go through a war inside of yourself and deal with difficult situations with people you love, but because you have something more important to understand. You are not actually killing your family and friends, but some way we are dealing with this kind of war, like not actually, but in an analogy. I don't know if I made myself understandable.
I think
And
so. I think that I understood what you said, and I was here thinking that there is some things that you cannot hide, at least not in a moment of your life, right? We all have so many desires, so many wishes, and sometimes we try to avoid at all costs. And in a way, like we put everything under the rug. There is a moment that everything will explode, will snowball. So we all have to observe and analyze our desires in order to feel better with ourselves, to understand who we really are. And in this way, this path, the life, we'll have to do some decisions. We'll have to deal with emotions. We will have to frustrate others because we are not able to make everyone happy all the time, right? And it's part of life. But yeah, it is so hard because in these choices that we made, we left behind some versions of ourselves in order to become much more connected with who we truly are. I think that's what I want to say. Hey, Dina, welcome.
So another little thing is that it's a little thing I keep in my head all the time, that happiness does not come from external things. I mean, that's just one that every time I get in some stress, I'm like, okay, it's not what's around you that's causing your stress. It's how you're dealing with it. That's what causes your own stress. That's why happiness will never, as I tell, I've sat in jail and had a great time. Sounds like it, but it's just how you deal with the situation that you've been dealt. I mean, that's the truth of it, right? So I don't know how to say your name. Christian, how you say it? So to help you,
Cristiano.
Mangala,
Cristiano.
Cristiano?
Yeah.
Okay. And you can call me Mangala, it's easy, but it's actually Mangala Artik. Anyway, so yeah, and unfortunately we can't help everybody. I mean, definitely you want to help your mother. She's dear to you, I'm sure. And you hate to see her suffer, but at the end of the day, it's really how she's reacting to you. She's created her own internal problem. And we can't, we want to fix those things, but we can't. Sometimes you can't. I mean, all you can do is be the best son you can be, and eventually maybe she'll figure it out. I mean, sometimes time and, will fix these things. Sometimes they won't. But at the end of the day, you're only responsible for yourself and your own thoughts and your own way to deal with things. I mean, even Krishna in there, I think in the next little bit of that thing, if we were to read it, this is where Krishna tells him to give it all up because he's actually a warrior. And there's this dharma for warriors. And one of the things is they cannot refuse a fight. It's just part of the thing. And then I think Krishna comes in here and says, give up all these, let's see where it is. Yeah.
Would you like to continue reading, Mangala?
So you want me to start off where if slain?
If you want to, it's fine.
Sure, why not? I mean, I know it's in here somewhere soon, but because
It's
that's
okay.
where this all ends up. But I'll read the next down to where it's yellow. If
No,
slain, you will
you
reach
can read
heaven.
whatever, really.
Okay. Because now basically Krishna is saying if you take up this fight, because he's saying if you don't take up the fight in the first verse, then you're going to have infamy. He says, but if you take up, do your dharma. As Sorry said, if slain, you will reach heaven. Conquering, you will rule great earth. Therefore arise, Kunteya. Decide for battle. Treating as equal pleasure and pain and loss, victory and defeat. Engage for war and incur no sin. So this is where he's saying, yeah, just do your duty, step up, quit getting into this, trying to weigh out who am I going to hurt, who I'm not going to hurt. He's a warrior. It's his duty. This is what he's supposed to do. And that has to do with his dharma. And he's like, this is reason, analytically taught. Now hear of it in practice with such reason. Partha, you will cast off karma bonds. Effort does not fail here. There is no falling back. even very little of this Dharma delivers one from great danger. Herein, Kru, son, determined reason is one, whereas the reasoning of the undetermined, what happened?
Sorry, I closed the notes.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Let me oh, where'd it go? With the reasoning.
Basically taught here.
With the reason for
A little bit farther down.
Dharma,
Yeah.
determine undermine.
Was here?
Oh, right in here. Sorry. Well, we'll just start here. Even, I know we read this part, even very little of this Dharma delivers one from great danger. Herein, Kuro-san, determined reason is one, whereas the reasoning of the undetermined is many branched, indeed endless. That's interesting. I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about this. I just find this part interesting because he's basically saying, make a decision, go forward with it. Otherwise, you're just going to be speculating over and over, and you're going to have so many paths and branches, just stop it and get after it. Intent on heaven, unwise, selfish souls delight in Vedic speech, Partha. Claiming there is nothing else, they proclaim those florid words that abound in rituals, afford good birth and fruits of action, and lead to assets and power. For those that cling to assets and power, their minds carried off by these full focus, determined reasons do not take place. The Veda centers on three qualities. Go beyond the three qualities, Arjuna, beyond duality. Stand always in goodness, self-possessed, with no care to acquire. To a knowing Brahmana, all the Vedas have as much value as a well when all about, this is an interesting way it's worded. To a knowing Brahmana, all the Vedas have as much value as a well when all about wide waters stream. Because this is little translation. This is like poetry going on here.
Yeah, thank you so much. Here we see this idea of duality again, right? And I would like to ask you all, how do you deal with frustration when your plans didn't happen in the way that you expect? Because that's what Krishna is saying here to Arjuna, right? Okay, your plans didn't happen in the way that you expect. Deal with this. Go beyond duality. Stand always in goodness. Be situated in your dharma and focus in what you need to do. Dina, what do you think about this? Or someone else?
Well, if you talk about frustration, usually frustration is because we are trying to do something and it can't be accomplished, or when it's not coming out the way we thought. And that again gets down to us trying to control things. It's just, I personally, I know that, and this is just how I see the world. I mean, but Gita kind of goes along with it. The reason we ended up in the material world is we wanted to be in control. And Krishna says, nope, I'm the prime deity. If you want to go be in control, I'll create the material world. And while you're there, you can have the illusion of it. But that's all it is. It's an illusion that we're in control. So when my frustration comes and it's me forcing something or trying to force a situation, and I have found over the years that if you just let it go, you'll find out. I mean, again, they're just lessons, right? This is a big schoolhouse. So something's not happening. It's usually Krishna saying, you don't need to be doing that. And there's a reason. And I'll give an example. It's a goofy one, but when I was young, we were working on this wall in the temple in New Orleans. And it's a simple wall to frame out. Have I told you this one before? Anyway, it's a simple wall, but for some reason, we were just having all kind of problems with it. It was like the goofiest thing ever. We're just like, oh man, what the heck's going on? So okay, fine, leave it. We got plenty to do. Let's go do something else. And so we started working on the rest of what was going to go there. And we soon realized if we would have been able to or force the situation, or that would have happened the way we were thinking, it would have been wrong. We'd have had to undo it. So it's like we're butting against what needs to be there, and we just gave up on it. We pivoted. All of a sudden, everything becomes clear, and you're like, "Well, okay, that was nice that we didn't." So I've learned, don't push against the water. Sometimes it's like you're in a boat, go with the stream, let Krishna take the rudder, and life gets way simpler. I mean, you still have to use your intellect. Don't the catch to that is some people will do this thing, oh, I'll just let Krishna work it out. Then you're making Krishna your servant. You should never do that. So don't just, say, oh, Krishna will fix it. Krishna will do that. No, because he says that we're supposed to use our intelligence. And he says, and he gives us that intelligence. And he says that if that's not enough, he says, I'll take care of the rest stuff. But first we have to use our intelligence.
100%. I have a problem with a wall in the temple of Rio also, exactly like this. Exactly like this. And we are painting everything and decorating and putting all the frames. And this wall was like the wall at the side of the altar, the wall that people are doing lectures, like one of the most important walls, could be anyone, but have to be exactly that wall. And we stay so mad with this wall. Oh my gosh. And exactly, we need to learn that we don't control everything, right? As okay, as more as we want to, we don't control anything. Anything. And the end of the day, we are just trying, just trying. As kids that are learning how to play, we are learning how to live this game called life. Right? And understanding our projections and sometimes not assuming our faults or responsibilities. But as you said, we need to do our best. We need to do our best because that's the best way to understand our desires and to go bad feeling any sense of satisfaction, right?
But
Yeah. Very-
yeah, go
Go ahead,
first.
Matt. No, you please. Please.
I also think that sometimes it's okay to accept that we want to control something because I want to get to a goal, and I made a lot of effort. I was trying to get there, and I was so frustrated because any of my plan worked. And it's okay that you get mad, you feel sad because you didn't achieve your goal. The things that you cannot stay there forever, you have to learn from it and keep going. Okay, I tried my best and didn't work, I'm suffering, I'm so frustrated and I'm mad with that. Take some time there, accept your suffering a little bit, because it's also important that you're not pretending, okay, kind of effort and it didn't happen, but I'm super fine with that. You are not. You are suffering with something that you were put a lot of effort, you didn't achieve. So it's okay to stay there for a while. Just don't live there forever. Don't pretend to don't suffer and always be sublime.
100%. I will cry. I will stay sad. I go bad, but tomorrow it's gonna be another day.
Yep, I was down in LA. I went down to the Fix Museum and everything was just going so good. And I got a little proud. Krishna slapped me real hard. A lot of things blew up and went bad. One of the main portions went really bad. And yeah, you get frustrated because you want to do so much, and you're I was so close. And then it all goes. But you still, again, there's something reason it's not supposed to happen that way just yet. I'm not done with it. But it's like, so that's not going to go. So we pivot. So I brought the parts home and we'll see if we can repair them. But I'm not done with the project. But yeah, it just didn't get where we wanted at this time. But there's a reason. Don't know what it all is. I can't see the big picture yet. But we know that in a year, I'll probably be able to see it, right? Hindsight's 2020. It's just like when you became a devotee, you see all the little things that had to happen, these little subtle things that took place to get you to meet a devotee. But when it's happening, you have no idea what's going on. So it's like that right now. I have no idea what's going on, but let it happen.
Yeah, that's our human condition, right? Many times we won't have the answers. We don't know why, but maybe later in life you understand why. And things will make sense or not, but then you had changed the way that you look to the situations. Yeah, it's very interesting. Dina Kala would like to share something. I'm not sure. Or if I should just scream scream share again.
Yeah, I'll just quickly say I've always found the more when something arises and it's out of my control and it frustrates me, the more I try to control the situation and try to make it work in whatever situation it is, the frustration just builds and builds and builds. You know, yeah. Sometimes you just like Nirvana said, you have to step back, you have to accept what's going on, and like Mangalartik said, pivot, and like just understand the more you try to control things, the more frustration comes. At least for me, for sure.
Yeah, we need to learn how to go with the flow, right? Let me back here to Kindle. Um, who would like to continue reading?
I can read.
I love this part.
We're at the next highlighted part, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, you have a
Yes.
right to action.
Okay. You have a right to action alone, never to its fruits. Neither be motivated by action's fruits, nor cling to inaction. Firm in yoga, perform deeds without attachment. Be equal in success and failure, for yoga is said to be equality. Dhananjaya. Dhananjaya. Yeah. This is kind of like what we're just talking about right now. We're trying to cling to these control of these actions that we're performing, and if it goes the wrong way, we get frustrated. But we're trying to cling to it. Um, and like Mangala said, it's right here. Uh, or nor cling to inaction. If we do nothing, we just sit back and say, "Oh, Krishna will take care of it." We're being inactive, and like it doesn't work that way. Okay, I'll continue. Action is by far inferior to the practice of reason than Anjaya. Seek shelter in reason. Miserly are those motivated by fruits. Joined to reason, one forsakes both good and bad action in this life. As such, prepare for yoga. Yoga is mastery in action. Joined to reason, the mindful forsake action-born fruits. Saved from birth bondage, they go to the place free of malady. Sorry.
Would you like to read this next
Sure.
paragraph? And then we can pause to discuss.
No problem. When your reason will cross over the illusion thicket, then you will be indifferent to what was heard and is to be heard. When your hearing confounded, reason stands unwavering, unmoving, in full concentration, then you will attain yoga.
That's cool. Thank you. It's very interesting because when you think about yoga, people tend to think about postures, asanas, right? Do this with your hand, look to that direction, breathe this way, exhale in that way. But in Krishna consciousness, we understand that yoga is much more than this. Because in the origin of the word, yoga comes from the Sanskrit word yuj, that means union. So it's be connected, be united with something much more. But sure that the asanas are the physical aspect. It's what we can see. It's much more palpable material. And that's what we tend to think about it. But we also have meditation. There is very important in our practice. And when you're talking about Krishna consciousness, we have active meditation, right? When we chant our rounds, when we chant our japa. But also, we can have active meditations in other forms also, like gardening. When you are picking flowers to Krishna, or when you're cooking and you're there so concentrated, mixing ingredients, thinking about proportions, what we harmonize with what. This can be a form of meditation as well. And we are talking about concentration here. So, what are the moments of your day that you feel more concentrated in a way that you feel like connected to the divine?
I was just contemplating this the other day. I was out for a japa hike, and I was just like thinking about when I'm out in the forest and I'm hiking, I feel more connected there to Krishna, to divinity, than I do in most other places. I feel so like here in BC, there's these towering trees, and I just feel so little. There's the vast sky, and there's so much life there as well. All these other souls are there in different forms. And I just feel it helps me humble. It helps me become humble there, just knowing that I'm just this little bit of the great eternity. And for me, that's where I tend to feel more connected. Also, in the temple in front of the deities, but as long as I'm just chanting japa and I'm in the forest and I'm observing what's going on and contemplating life and my position in the grand scheme of things, it really is, to me, it's very special there.
Thanks for sharing. Someone else would like to share moments of concentration that you feel connected with the divine?
And share something. Um, so before my family became fundamentalist Christians, I'm indigenous to Southern California. We're Yaqui native and not Christian at all. A very different. It's very connected to land, the planet, the stars, and um, life, and there aren't any hierarchies. So, in trying to find that kind of connection again, when I left religion and I stayed away from religion because it just made me feel just the word, it just, because of the way it impacted me. So, I was just trying to figure it out. And most recently, living in Brooklyn, it's been really, really loud. So what I would do is to isolate my senses, in order. So, like, say for instance, I'm a painter first, and then I make other types of visual art. But when things are so much happening, and I couldn't seem to connect with myself, which feels like connected to source, or Krishna as source is what I'm understanding then, yes, or like, right? So it feels like, how do you access that when all this stuff is right, like, jackhammers and everything that's happening around you? Um, some artists, we started to do this where I would lead these tours where we would plug our ears and just with, headsets or whatever, like just but really isolate and then just look and then stop uh, in the middle somewhere and then take off the headphones and then put a bandana on the eyes and listen. So just like look and listen, but no speaking. And something about that in a very with concrete and hardly any trees and not being able to access what we can in BC, which I'm so thankful. Like it's so beautiful here. But to be in that environment for so long and to just to try to feel the earth beneath the concrete and to hear the birds again, it's to isolate the senses was something. You can do that for about an hour or two, and then you can go into your studio space and make or whatever you use to make art and then make art from that place. But it felt like a way to connect um, by tuning something out. I don't know. I'm trying to explain that that's how it kind of felt like, oh, I can feel the truth again. It's not the stuff outside. That's all. That's my way. Thank you.
So if I can, so religion, the word religion gets a really bad rap. So, and understandably why. So to understand it, um, there's philosophy and there's religion. And religion actually is just how you follow the philosophy. That's all it is. So we get all hung up in the different churches and groups. And as I tell people, churches are just, they're clubs of like-minded people. That's all they are. So it's like, we have our temples. You want to understand Krishna conscious. Do you need the temple? No, but it'll be 1,000 times easier if you go there because it's just like this group right here. And I actually shouldn't even say the temple, more the association of devotees is the real big part of it. So yeah, because I came from basically a Baptist background and I ended up in the deep South where people of color weren't even allowed. And it kind of shocked me badly. And I really gave them a bad rap. So I tell it, that any church, if you look at it, that it's just a group of people. The church is like a shower. Everybody's in there. Nobody's clean, right? But you have to give them credit for getting in the shower. No, seriously. It's because we look at a church and we think, or the temple, or even the devotees, and we think, okay, they've taken up spiritual life. They're all great now. No, not even close, right? But you give them credit, they got in. They're in the shower, they're making an attempt, right? No matter how bad they fall down, you just got to give them a break. They're trying, as opposed to somebody who hasn't even tried, right? So even your parents, you got this is going to sound a little rough, but they're trying. It's their way, right? It's their way, and everyone does it differently. Um, so you just have to see it that way. I mean, I had an uncle that lived there, and guy went to church with him one night, and they all come after church. They came up to him and they said, Mike says, if you need, we'll grab the guns, we'll get in the truck, we'll come get you. Because he thought I joined a cult. And the funny thing is, it was quite endearing. I mean, misplaced is all get out. But the fact that he loved me enough that he would get his friends and come get me. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it was kind of funny. Like I said, misplaced, but his heart's in the right place. So I give him credit for that. So in that way, sometimes you just have to deal with it. I don't know if that helps you at all. And the other thing is with Krishna consciousness is kind of like you get a new car. So I just bought a Toyota, right? Well, I've had Toyotas for a while, but I have a Toyota Camry. And when you get a new car, you suddenly see, it's like for me, every Toyota Camry out there, I'm like, oh, there's one like mine. There's one like mine. That's Krishna consciousness. But that's Toyota consciousness. So the idea is when you start studying this philosophy and you learn who Krishna is, then you'll start seeing it everywhere. And that's when you suddenly that's what Krishna consciousness is, when we start seeing God in everything. And that's the object of what we teach. Even in the enemies, we got earlier on in our enemies, right? They say the sage is equal to all because he knows that even in the people who don't like him, God's still there. He's within their own heart. So even in that sense, we just have to like understand that fact that God's still in their heart, and we got to see that there also. He's everywhere. Sorry if I get off on tangents. I'm sorry. But I just, I know, yes, and I'm trying to help you. You're new to this. There's a lot to take in.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming and, hanging with us.
It
Oh,
reminds me of the example that Prabhupada used to say about the hospital, that
Mm.
when you go to the temple, it's like when you go to the hospital, everyone there is sick. Everyone there is trying to heal in one way or another. And as we say in the beginning, right, we don't know what this person is trying to heal of. We're no one to judge what this person is trying to heal. And if we
Mhm.
cannot help, at least let's not disturb the path of someone.
Mm.
Some people we have to stay away, some people we can walk a little bit more close, right? And doesn't matter. Sometimes you have someone that is a great friend that has a totally different path from yours. And maybe you find at the temple someone that has really different values from yours. So it's not because one is going in the temple or in the church or not that is a good or bad person. It will be super easy to determine if it is or not, if it was like this, but we know that it's not. What makes someone be a good person or a good association, right, or not? What makes someone be the friend that will uplift you and support you? This can vary a lot, and in the same way, the way that we concentrate, that we feel connected with the divine, can be in the nature, can be in the temple, can be after a hike, seeing all the beautiful view. But the important thing is to find what is this so special and sacred, meaningful way for you to evolve in your process. And with the Gita, we have so many beautiful teachings that can help us in this path, right?
oh, you guys, those are all so many great points there. My Lord. Um, like you're saying, Prema, about what is good, and it's really we're putting these labels on what is good and what's bad. Like I might like hot chocolate, and Mangalarti might think it's disgusting. It doesn't.
No, it's
Right?
bad for me. It'll hurt me.
Yeah, okay, right. But it's these labels. They're inherently hot chocolate is just hot chocolate. It's not good or bad. It's just our perception of it, right? Um, and among like your analogies were so amazing, like the Toyota consciousness. That's so brilliant because it's true, right? What you were talking about the shower. That's so amazing too because we're all in the shower of the world. We're all in the world of the shower, and we're all just hopefully trying to be better than we were the day before. And we're then some people are far filthier and dirtier than others, and we all are trying to wash ourselves of whatever bad qualities we have, of the dirtiness we have, and um, Christiana, when you were talking about blocking your senses in different ways to connect and get inside, it reminded me of that's in India. That's what the mystics and sages would do. They would go to the Himalayas and hide out in the cave and just be there to block out everything from the world, so they can deeply go in within themselves and find themselves and become self-realized. So yeah.
Yeah, and also the Gita, right? Many people use the teachings of the Gita to evolve and try to be a better person. But we know of famous person in history that used the Gita in a totally weird way to make people act in the way that was from their own benefit,
Mm.
and wars and many things. So we really need to be open-minded uh, to how people can remove some elements, some books, some teachings, and put it in a wrong way also, right? We need to really try to observe this. I'm saying this because yesterday I was helping to facilitate a Gita lecture, and people were saying about wars. And it's very important for us to understand that the Bhagavad Gita doesn't support wars at all. We are here talking about other kind of stuff, other kind of war, like fight your inner demons. And when we say demons, we are not saying in a Christian context. We are saying um, those hidden, unhidden desires that we have, or struggles, or difficulties, or challenges, right? So it's really good if we can open our hearts, open our minds to try to understand some things that are outside the literal uh, translation, the literal what it is by the book, right? And try to apply this in our daily lives. That's what I think that we are doing here, connecting all these teachings. So if I don't know if someone has something else to add. I'm sorry that we passed a little bit from our time.
I think to your point, Prema, also, when Prabhupada was translating the Bhagavad Gita, um, he was using some very old, outdated British English, right? So some of the words in there are like wouldn't be used nowadays, right? You know, so like you said about demons, right? It doesn't literally mean demons. It's like it's talking about like our lusts and our anger and our desires that hurt us, right? And it's skipping my mind right now, but there's other words in there that are like super outdated, and taken literally can be confusing, you know. But
Yeah, and that's
yeah.
why also Acharydev made this comprehensive guide to Bhagavad Gita to update it, these ancient teachings, because we know that if we grab a book from uh, a century before now, we will see things different. We understand things different. That's how it is, right?
This could go on for a while, but go back into sometime. So the truth is, I mean, Kirkshak happened. People died. There is a place for war. It's something we shouldn't do. Like it was their last result, right? As far as demons, yeah, they exist. I mean, if you get into it, you start reading into the Srimad Bhagavatam, we have the Rakshasas, a race of really bad people. They birth their way into, I mean, this is why we had this battle, right? Shri talks about, I like his analogy. He goes, yeah, the two guys were having a big fight. The demons were losing, so they needed a hideout and they chose Earth. And that's how they ended up here. So then the demigods born, birthed into the families, the Kurus, and that's why it took place on Earth. So these things actually do exist. They're not just some like esoteric thing that we're trying. But yes, we do have those struggles, and our own mind can, be our worst enemy if we're not careful. That's for sure. But sometimes you want to get into it. We'll discuss what's violence, what violence and non-violence, because it's just like they have the saying, the day of the sage is the night of the materialist, and the day of the materialist is night of the sage. Violence kind of comes out in that same way when you truly understand what's considered violence, because capital punishment done properly is a non-violent act. Sounds bizarre, but I mean, I could go. I don't know if we have time for me to go down that line with you guys right now, but It's important to understand that because we're not the body. And that's the big part to try and understand. When you look at everything from the soul, that we're eternal being, then everything changes.
Yeah, yeah. I remember that. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. I asked Dev in a class, uh, okay, but what means the demons in essence? And basically what he replied was, Pramamrita, you need to understand that for someone, for a soul in their journey turn into a demon, there is a huge reason for this. There is an accumulus of wrong actions, of reactions that made someone turn into a demon. Because in the literature we see many characters as demons, performing atrocities, and sometimes we don't understand, right? Because if we are always spiritual souls in our journeys, uh, why there is some that are demons? Why there is some that ascend and back to Godhead, right? But what I was thinking also while you were talking is that you can use you can use a knife, you can use a scalpel to kill someone, or to do a surgery and save the life of someone.
Mm-hmm.
So it all depends on the use that you do of the thing, of the object, of the teaching. Um, Capital punishment is a non-violent act.
Okay. Do you want me to explain that to him real quick? How that works out?
If you all are over, that's okay, but that doesn't land. I mean, that's just
I know, but because you don't understand the difference between the soul and the body and the mind. So here,
um,
I'll keep it simple. So what happens is,
I don't know if there's enough time though for everybody.
no, I'll keep
It's
it simple and short.
okay. It's okay, please. Yeah.
Okay. So what happens is when a person does some, so let's say a person's senses become so agitated that they'll take another person's life, then it's actually the duty of the government to release them from that body. And the reason for that is it's the body that's contaminated, not the soul. You can't kill me. You can release me from my body, but you cannot kill me. I'm a spiritual being. And this is what Krishna is telling Arjuna in all this. He says, go ahead. They're not dead. He says, you're not killing them. It's going to happen. They all have to leave their bodies at this point to leave the earth, and you're not killing them. So, and the reason for that is if you don't do that, then that body is contaminated. And if you leave them in it, they're going to do it. The possibilities of them doing it again are quite high. And so it's an unjust thing. You're actually doing them more harm by leaving them in the body and allowing them to create this greater karma. Whereas if they're in, and when I say the release, there's a whole, you can get into what should be done before that happens. The idea is to try and educate them so they know what's going on. Because then in their next life, the idea is if they don't have this horrible karma, they paid for it in this lifetime. In their next lifetime, they'll get a body that doesn't have this flaw.
Yeah, I'm
You
wondering.
can speak it. It's all right.
I want to know these words. Is this what everyone agrees with in here?
So here, let me help you with this too. Never believe you're doing the right thing by questioning me. This is an important fact of what we teach. We have this checks and balance system. It's called Shastra, Sadhu, and Guru. So Shastra is the scripture. Sadhu is like a saintly person. Guru is like the teacher. So this is actually in the books. If you want to look into what's violence, what non-violence, and how it goes about. So yeah, when you have these questions, you should definitely read the books, go look it up. You have a computer, right? Have they told you about Database?
Have they told you?
It's the first meeting.
Okay, so there's a website. It's www.vedabase, VEDABASE So Veda is the books we get from. There you go. That has all our books in it, and there's a search queue in there. So you can just go type in a whole string. So if you do something like, uh, violence versus nonviolence, so you might find it. But you can go definitely read and study. So, like I said, you're doing the right thing by questioning me. That's a good thing. We believe in that.
Okay,
Highly.
cool. All right, thank you.
For me, I don't know if I understood really well. Capital punishment, it's when the government punish someone. Is this English is not
Yeah,
my
it's
first
the
language?
government. It's not, we shouldn't take it upon ourselves. It's the duty of the government. So it's dharma, right? So so now, yeah, this is where it's going to get long.
For me, this varies a lot
What's that?
because, well, it's a very open question. There is many capital punishment that I totally disagree, and it depends on the government of the country, on the context of the
Okay.
citizen. So
So
I
I'm
I
saying
don't have
we
like a
agree on
yes
the
or no
principle.
reply to
Okay.
this.
We agree on the principle. I have a personal problem with it in America. It has nothing to do with the principle. I have a problem with it in America because our justice system is not just. It's, right? So I'm talking about a principle here, not the application in our normal world. I think the application in our normal world has big issues, absolutely massive issues, because it's not about big justice. It's about winning or money and so many other things. So I'm only talking about a principle, if that helps.
I
My
still think
very
that
big.
it's too vague to reply, because of me partly, I don't agree with many capital punishment because I don't see the results of this uh, turning into something positive in the life of an individual, plus in the society. By the opposite, I see many people that go out of the jail in a worse situation, and because of this back to jail and punishments that I don't think that are fair. So I think me personally, I cannot reply this with a yes or no. I think that this is something that we can explore more in the next meeting, maybe.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I can't completely say yes or no. And I thank you, Mangal Artik, for clarifying your point, saying like you're talking about the principle behind it all instead of
Yes.
like what's actually happens in the world right now. Because in the world right now, we see so many wrongful executions for
This is
innocent
Kali
people.
Yuga.
Yeah, right. For
Yeah, it's a
innocent
mess.
people and for people who are marginalized and picked out because of the color of their skin, and um,
Exactly.
there's a
No,
lot of wrong. There's more wrong in capital punishment than there is
like I said, so I'm
justice.
talking about it from, if you read the Vedas from a philosophical point of view, if you were to follow through what Varnashram Dharma should be, right? In that context, it works. But I agree with you 100% in the world as we know it right now. And no, I can't back it. Just that's me personally. I'm just talking from a philosophical point of view because, again, yeah, like I said, go do a little study on what's considered. It's kind of like I said, the date, what we consider, what is in the Vedas considered violence and nonviolent is very different than what we consider in today. I mean, to have sex with a woman that can't procreate a children is actually considered a violent act because you're putting the sperm in a place that it cannot survive, and that's a violent thing. You shouldn't do it. But if you get into these higher thought processes, so what is violence? What is not violence? You have to look at it from the soul's point of view, not the body, not the corrupt system that we have. So yeah, trying to apply that gets very difficult. I agree. behind you guys all the way on that. I'm just trying to explain that there's, and this is not my opinion. This is all in our books, and you have to read it and understand it from that point of view.
Thank you. Thank you for explaining it.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, thank you for explaining that. And I know this is Cristiano's first meeting, and he's just like, just looked
That went a little deep.
yeah, that was a little deep, a little esoteric and a little deep. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
But there's a whole breadth. There's so much to learn. Like I so much for me to learn. But yeah, like you said, principles versus today is like a whole different thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Because again, this is all about, well, we won't even go into that because I should. Christianity, he's gonna like, wow, okay. There's a lot to learn. I've been doing this since 1980. Okay, so and I learn things new every day. It's a very, yeah, but if you study it, you learn these principles of how to control your senses, how to control your mind. It will make your life a better place. I can promise you that. I think
And you're right. And I think to think about when you're studying and reading the philosophy, and it's to keep in mind the main thing that we aren't our bodies, that we are just a soul encased in the embodied right now. And all these principles are about our soul's journey, about our true like our true selves, our souls, not this body, which is a piece of clothing that each of us is wearing. We're all wearing a different jacket, and we're all going to be changing our jacket at some point in time, But all this is about our true nature, not our temporary nature. Yeah.
So we have many interesting concepts here. I strongly encourage you all to continue the discussion on the WhatsApp group. We have to finish the online meeting for tonight, I'm sorry. But I'd be really glad to continue the discussion on the WhatsApp group and continue the reading on the next Monday. So thank you all for coming. I will share the recording on the group tonight or tomorrow, let's see. And that's it. Please feel free to comments, questions, post what you want to share in the group. Have a nice week. Hare Krishna.
Well, everybody, Hare Krishna.